Hello and namaste everyone. Thank you very much for taking time to tune in. We are continuing our series of To Be Free episodes that we have been doing for the past few months. And today I would like to explore a very dreadful, fearful topic that we all do not want to talk in the lifetime. And that is about death. Yes, when the word death comes in our discussions, in our families or friends, people think it's like a bad omen. It's like, oh, we don't need to talk about it. Why are we bringing the topic of death? And we just try to let go or ignore or literally hide that away from our day-to-day interactions or discussions. But my dear friends, if there is one thing that we all need to be aware of, it is the death. Because the moment we are born into this world, from that moment, that very moment, we start our march towards death. Every step that we take in this world, we are walking towards that inevitable death. But now, let us try to understand what is that death? Why is that death so important? And what does ancient yogic wisdom talk about the importance of death? Before we get into the crux of the discussion, I would always like to share my personal experiences about death. As you all probably by this time know, or if you have read the book Ancient Sage for Silicon Age that I had written and published a few years back, I talk about the near-death experience that ancient sage Sunita Amma has gone through when she was very young. And in that, I have described very briefly about what that looks like. And she explains in her own words that when she left that physical body, she saw this huge, bright tunnel of light through which she was passing through. And yet, she was aware of what was going on in the surroundings of her physical body. And she was able to listen and hear about what people were talking about at that time. And people thought that she's left the body and her time is over on this earthly world. But of course, she has come back again from that experience into the experience of the physical body. And what we see today is that ancient sage Sunita Amma. Now, this is a very interesting experience, and I'm sure you have heard many talk about this. There were actually many books that came out specifically going very deeply into this near-death experiences. It's a mystery. It is still an unsolved problem for the world of science. There are actually many doctors who have gone through this experience by themselves. And if I'm not mistaken, there is a book, Proof of Heaven, written by, I think, as a neuroscientist, a neurologist actually, going through that experience and coming back into this world and writing about it. So there is so much that goes around the experience of death. And this simple example tells us that the death of physical body is not the end of the world, nor the end of the life. That there is something that exists beyond death, beyond the passing away of this physical body. And this is exactly what the great ancient Upanishad, Kathopanishad, actually talks about. The entire text of Kathopanishad is about the experience of death, where this young lad, child, Nachiketa, goes face to face with the god of death, Yamadharmaraja or Yama. But of course, there is no physical Yama Dharmaraja sitting there and trying to kill people. It is just an analogy, but the very essence of that is that this boy, Nachiketa, who is curious like many of us, is interested to know about what happens to life after death. And he comes face to face with this Yama. Yama, of course, in people who are practicing yoga knows, Yama is control or regulation of these different aspects of our existence, like especially regulation of senses and how we live. So this Yama, which we are talking about, or which Nachiketa is talking about, is that entity, the very essence which regulates this world. In fact, there is another meaning for Yama, which also means time, the one that regulates time. And as we all know, time is what is responsible for this body to go through these different phases. We see that we come into this world as an infant, we become a child, we become adolescent, then youth, adult, of course, later into old age, and then perishes. So the entire life actually goes through the spectrum of time, which means that our life is literally determined by this time or regulated by this time. And which is why the young Nachiketa goes face to face with that embodiment of time, that power of time, and questioning what happens to this body after the death. Because we know in that time period between infancy or the time of birth till that last moment that we breathe, all that happens we are aware of, but we are not aware of what happens right after that. So obviously Nachiketa knows whom to talk to, and he talks to that Lord of Time, the God of Time, or that embodiment of time, that energy of time, face to face, and says, explain me what happens after that. I want to know the spectrum which we cannot see, which is invisible, which is unknown to all these mere mortals that we live in this world. And the interesting part is that this Yama actually offers 3 boons to Nachiketa, because Nachiketa, when he goes to Yama, he has to wait there for a few days, actually 3 days and 3 nights. So when he waits there, when he goes to that place, he does not see Yama because Yama is not there. So when Yama comes back, he says, oh, this poor little child has been waiting for 3 days, so I'm going to grant you 3 boons. And he gives him to take and ask anything he wants. And then, of course, Nachiketa asks 3 boons. And the 3rd boon is what is important and relevant for this episode. And that is where he asks, Yama, everybody knows about the lifetime, but nobody knows about what happens after death. And I want to know about that. And Yama says, you can ask me anything else you want in this world. I can give you the entire world. I can give you how many years you want to live in this world. I can give you the wealth. I can give you all the pleasures in this world, but not the answer for this one question: what happens to life after death? And Nachiketa, being a very wise boy, a very intelligent boy, a boy who knows what to discriminate, how to discriminate right and wrong, he says, no, I don't want any of that. I don't need wealth. I don't need pleasures. I don't need millions of years of lifetime, because I know all these are transient. All these are temporary. I want to know the one that exists after death. And again, Yama keeps going back to Nachiketa and says, no, I cannot do that. I can give you everything. I know there are many who have come to me asking for the answer for that one question, but I have never told anyone. And then yet Nachiketa sticks to his question, and he is very adamant about finding the answer for that. Now, what we can learn from this simple episode is that Nachiketa understands the importance of what happens after the death. He knows that anything that happens during lifetime is not of much importance, that it is all transient. And in fact, they also talk about 2 different paths. Katha Upanishad talks about 2 paths called Preyas and Shreyas. Preyas Marga or Shreyas Marga. The path of Preyas, which is the path of pleasure, and path of Shreyas, which is a path towards infinite bliss. And Nachiketa makes that clear distinction, saying that I want to take the path of Shreyas, not the path of Preyas. And we know, my dear friends, how we all make so many choices in our day-to-day life, where every decision is, of course, yielded more towards pleasure. We don't want to take the path of bliss. We want momentary pleasures. We want to enjoy happiness right now, immediately, in this physical body. We want all the pleasures that are experienced by the senses instantly. But we don't have the patience, like Nachiketa, to stick to the point and say, I want to take the path of Shreyas. I want to know the path of infinite bliss, the path which will give me the highest happiness, which is bliss or Ananda. So, and of course, there is also another word for this called Pravritti Marga or Nivritti Marga. Pravritti Marga is the path of the external. Nivritti is the path towards the inner being, inside. So, Kathopanishad very clearly says that if you want to really live forever, if you want to experience the one that exists after even your physical death, if you want to experience that, then you need to renounce these physical pleasures, sensual pleasures. You need to let go of your attachment towards that and make your mind focus on the path of Shreyas. And this discrimination is what helped Nachiketa to really understand what happens after death. Now, what did Yama actually tell Nachiketa about this? Now, Yama says, even though this physical body perishes, there is one that exists within, which is the indweller of this physical body, that continues to exist even after the death of this physical body. And he continues to say that this shines through, even this body actually shines because of that indweller, that subtlest of the subtle, that sukshmati sukshmamaina, that subtle body, that subtlest of the subtle, beyond the subtle body, beyond the sukshma sarira, beyond the prana, beyond the energy body, beyond the intellect, beyond the buddhi, beyond all of that is that subtlest of the subtle. Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. Kathopanishad says that subtlest of the subtle, but yet the largest of the large, which is there everywhere, omnipresent. And that is the one that continues after the physical body. Now he goes on to explain that even though that exists and that is there after the death, but many don't even realize that it is there because they are stuck in those sensual pleasures. So when they leave that physical body, when I say they, it applies to all of us who are living in this physical world on this earth, that pleasures, the desires, that attitudes, the tendencies, which ancient wisdom calls vasanas, they are stuck in that sukshma sarira. We talked about it in many episodes, that subtle body, and all of those are lurking in that corner of that dark corners of that subtle body. That also leaves that physical body. The physical body perishes, but then that subtle body also exists. Unless we clear those tendencies or vasanas in that sukshma sarira or that subtle body, we cannot experience the Atma or the soul or the spirit or that highest pure divine self. So the work that we do here at Sukshma with the guidance of ancient Sweet Sunita Ma is in fact very precise, very, very important, because the very essence of this whole Kathopanishad, the very essence of this ancient yogic wisdom is to live forever and to not come back into this cycle of birth and death, because we come back into the cycle of birth and death because of what is accumulated in that sukshma sarira, in that subtle body. All those tendencies, desires and pleasures, you want more and more. You again come back into this physical body. Again you go through all these ups and downs in life, happiness and sadness and turmoils. And then again you go back with those tendencies, again with those desires that are imprinted in that subtle body, and again you come back, which the great Adi Shankaracharya says in Bhaja Govindam, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So we keep coming and going, never coming out of this cycle of birth and death. And yet we complain that I am stuck, I am suffering, I am going through pain, yet not realizing how to have an exit strategy from this cycle of birth and death. Now, this is what Yama has beautifully explained. He also explained how to get out of this cycle, how to experience the one that exists forever, one that is immortal, one that is fearless, one that is changeless, one that is selfless. He says you need to approach a master who has realized that and who can give the experience of that. In fact, the Kathopanishad beautifully exclaims that this cannot be realized by lectures, by reading scriptures, by techniques, by intelligence, by analysis, by rational thinking. You cannot experience that. It has to be given through a realized master, and only that realized master can help us experience the subtlest of the subtle, purest of the pure, that is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. So how do we experience that? And this is where my personal experience comes into the picture, my dear friends. In fact, I still remember after that first couple of meditation sessions, when Sunita Ma asked me to write down my experience. She gave me a piece of paper and a pen. She does this with every student who comes to our sessions. We usually maintain a journal of our experiences. And I'm telling you, my dear friends, the first letter that I have written, I still remember those lines. I said, I will want to not continue in this physical body anymore. I am ready to leave this world. Now, this may sound very weird for a lot of people. It might sound, oh, maybe I'm depressed. Maybe I am not interested in this world. No, it is not depression. It is not that I am not interested in this world. It is that I have experienced something after which I felt there is no need to experience anything else in this world. There is nothing worth experiencing in this world after experiencing that which is priceless, which is the most invaluable experience. These are the lines I have written. I can leave my physical body right now at this moment. And I stood by that. I stood by that because that experience is continuous. That is so constant, every time experiencing that in the presence of that realized master, session after session after session, it reinforces in you that there is nothing worth experiencing beyond that. And this is exactly what Kathopanishad is saying, which is exactly what Yama declared to the humanity, to Nachiketa, through Nachiketa, of course, through that pure, innocent young child. Look at this analogy that he chose an innocent, pure child, not an adult. Because we adults are corrupted with all these vices, all these sensual pleasures, attractions, distractions, destructive attitudes. And he knows that we wouldn't be able to get this. And that is why he chose a pure, innocent child like Nachiketa, who is selfless. And in fact, Kathopanishad also declares that not everyone can experience this. Only that innocent, pure can experience this. In fact, it also says that it chooses whom to give that experience to, because one has to cleanse and purify, and only when you are in that selfless, innocent, pure state can you experience that Atma. And this has been my experience in the presence of ancient sage Sunita Amma. And my dear friends, the beauty is after that experience, there is no fear of death anymore. In fact, I have seen so many people who have come to Sunita Amma, who are people who are even close to the death, who are like, oh my goodness, I'm going to die now. This is it. I don't think I will live after this. Even they have bounced back and have experienced this, and they have declared that I don't fear death anymore because I have found the one that is eternal. I have the experience of the eternal. See, that is the power of this Kathopanishad. That is the power of this Atma, where you can, once you experience that, you become fearless. You can face death any moment, the physical death. You can face it any time. In fact, every night I sleep, every night I am meditating. Before going to sleep, I say, I am ready now. If you in the sense that greater grandness of the universe under which we are all lying, if you think that my purpose is over in this physical body, I am ready to leave and let go and go back to the source. That is the power of experiencing that subtlest of the subtle, my dear friends. In fact, after I have experienced that, I wanted to give that experience to my parents as well. My mother, who has been suffering from so many illnesses for a long time, and my father, whose health was a bit fragile, I wanted them to experience. And I told them, parents, I don't think I'll be able to give you like big bungalows, big cars, big worldly things, but I can help you give that experience through which you will breathe your last, through which you will leave this physical world in bliss. And I felt that very truthfully from the bottom of my heart. And I have brought them here to Vancouver from India and helped them go through those sessions. And I know today, and you probably, many of you have seen my parents' videos where they have spoken, my mother's health has blossomed phenomenally. Because this experience helps us relieve from the suffering right now in this physical body, my dears. Forget about what happens after the physical death. In this very world where we are dying every moment because of illnesses, because of pain, because of suffering, we are dying million deaths every moment. This experience will help everyone go beyond those million deaths. You will experience life at its fullest. You will experience the fearlessness of that life. And that is why this experience is so important. You know what, my dear friends? In fact, ancient Upanishad, I think Keno Upanishad says, dying while you are living is worth it. Dying while you are living. What is the death that Upanishad is talking about? The death of the vices, death of these identities, physical identities, name identities, form identities, action identities, identities with all this name, fame, power, all these identities. It says, when all those identities die, you will fully live. So, what we need to work in this lifetime, the purpose of this lifetime is to experience the one through which we can kill all these vices, kill all these identities, so that you can live forever, eternally. In fact, Katha Upanishad declares the purpose of life should be to arise, awake, and be alert and approach the learned, the great saints, the great sages who can give that experience. The purpose of life has to become to yearn for that experience of that purest of the pure. In fact, that yearning is called mumukshatvam. Mumukshatva is that yearning to be experiencing that moksha. What is moksha? Mohakshaya is moksha. Getting rid of the delusion that this physical body is the only reality, is the moha. This physical body is the delusion. Getting detached from this physical body and experiencing the one which is the indweller, which is the owner of this physical body. This physical body and mind are just tools. Once you catch the owner, the one who regulates. In fact, Katha Upanishad also gives a beautiful analogy of chariot, which I think we talked in other episodes. The one who is sitting and controlling that, the reins, the horses of the chariot, the one, you become that one who regulates the body, who regulates the senses, who regulates the mind. Then you will become eternal. You will experience that and you will lose the fear of death. So, my dear friends, like I said, I have allowed my parents to experience. So many people have come to ancient Sunitama to experience that, through which they have transcended the fears of death, through which they have realized that when we leave this world, we live consciously. So when you realize that, when you understand your true essence, you will have a conscious death, not an unconscious death, because an unconscious death is painful. Unconscious death is cumbersome. Unconscious death is fearful. But when you realize the one that is beyond this physical, then you are ready to breathe that last at any time, so that you merge back into the source. But also remembering that while you are in this lifetime doing your dharmas, your karmas, and importantly taking care of this physical body for maintaining that healthy body for wellness, which is what again ancient wisdom says, Sarira Madhyam Kalu Dharma Sadhana. And then it goes on to say, Sarira Madhyam Kalu Moksha Sadhana. First, using this body as a tool to take care of it from morning to night, giving it right food, right rest, right sleep, right relationships, right thoughts, so that this body is purified, so that this mind is purified. And then you are preparing them to experience moksha. Moksha is getting rid of those delusions, getting rid of those vices, so that you can experience the ultimate. So I hope now we can all dance with the death. We can all become merriful with the death, because the death we are talking about is the death of the vices. So that when that final call comes to all of us, no one is an exception in this world. When that final call comes, we are all ready to surrender to that higher power. Call it whatever you want, God, energy, nature, universe, but merging back into that source. Getting ready to merge back into that source every moment of life, every day, every second. You are aligned with that. So let's do a little practice of meditation. Simple practice. Okay, so simply tap your body. Again, be alert. When you're tapping, realize this body is not permanent. Do you know that this body is dying every moment? Thousands of cells in this body are dying every moment. Thousands of new cells are born every moment, which means that the body is a very dynamic process. It is not static, but we forget, we live in the delusion that, oh, this is permanent. Every moment, thousands of cells are dying, thousands of cells are born again. It's a process of recycling. Everything in this universe gets recycled. The stars are dying, the planets are dying, the galaxies are dying, new stars are born, new galaxies are born. The entire universe is a process of creation, sustenance, and destruction. These three are the only processes that are happening constantly in this universe. No difference for our body. We are just a small subset of that universe. So this body is also going through the cycle of creation, sustenance, and destruction. It has to perish one day. So be prepared for that. Be bold. Be fearless. Okay? So we have done that. Now just give an assurance for yourself. Bring that smile. Don't leave that smile. See, even when talking about death, we were just smiling, enjoying. Take a nice deep breath. Spread that smile into your heart. Taking that inner path, Nivritti Margam. And that inner path will take you to the path of Shreyas, Shreyo Marga. The path towards experiencing that inner bliss beyond the sensual pleasures. Enjoy that smile, enjoy that breath. This physical body is nothing. After that last breath, physical body just doesn't function. So going deeper and deeper into your heart, give that assurance. Take out your name. I'll take my name. Suman, I'll take care of you. I'm always with you. I love you. I respect you. When I'm saying I love you, I respect you, I'm not talking about the physical body. The inner being, the one that is observing all this drama, that pure awareness. I love you, I respect you, I'll take care of you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. See, there are 4 dimensions to that I. I'll take care of you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I respect you. I honor you. No matter what, I'll never let you down. This is my promise to you, Suman. Now you, that inner being, is giving that promise to outer being, which is your physical body. That name that you have acquired in this birth, the form that you have acquired in this birth. You are giving assurance to that physical form. Who is giving that assurance? Atma, that self, that being. Because being is fearless, deathless, changeless. Fearless. Always come back to that real you, not the fake you, the real you. Going deeper and deeper inside. Take more deep breaths if you want. No one is stopping you. Let go of any thoughts and distractions. Tell your mind, hey, I know who I am. I am Atma. I am Brahma. Again, the great ancient wisdom declares, I am Atma Brahma. Tell your mind, hello, I know who I am. You stop for some time. I'll use you whenever I need you. I don't need you now. That's it. All thoughts will run away. Be alert. Uttishta, Jagrata. Arise, awake, alert. Prapya Varanna Bodha means approach. Approach ancient sages. Very few of them in this world today. Approach them. Take advantage, my dears. Don't waste time. Time is precious. We talked about it. Time is precious. The time is decaying your body day by day by day by day. Be selfish. Don't waste even a moment. Use every moment of this time before it decays completely, so that you can become and remain fresh. You can live forever and ever. Yes, yoga practices extend the physical life. But my dears, don't fall in the trap. Yes, vigor and rigor of life is important. But don't just practice yoga for only health or for only expanding this life. While doing that, be alert, be aware, to detach yourself from this physical body as well. Whole body is relaxing. Your mind is purifying. Spreading that smile into every single cell of your body. Letting go of any distractions, mental, emotional, physical. They are not real. Catch the one that is real. Be with the one that is real. Experiencing that inner bliss. Nectarine, immortal bliss. Continue staying in this however long you want. Utilize every moment to prepare your body and mind to live consciously, to die consciously, and to remain eternal consciously.